Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello there, welcome to a fresh edition of your business program on Leadership Television, that is Money Radio. My name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program. Of course, I have my guest, is the group business editor of Leadership newspaper, Inse Anthony Oko. Inse, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's been a while.
Yes. Today we are going to be looking at petrol price war. When will it end? That's the question on the lips of every Nigerian. As you can see, Nigerians have witnessed a lot of back and forth between the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and Dangote Refinery over the pricing of petrol from the newly operational 650 million barrels per day refinery. This even as the severe fuel crisis in the country intensifies following dramatic increase in the price of petrol. Of course, you say a group business editor is also a stakeholder in the industry. Inse, what is your views on these pricing discrepancies? Why does Dangote Refinery dispute NNPC's claim that petrol was sold at 898 naira per litre? And what is the actual pricing mechanism in place?
Actually, before I delve into the price war that we are seeing, I just want to express that for me, it's somehow disheartening that we're having this kind of situation at this time in Nigeria. If you recall severally on this program, we have hinged our hopes on the commencement of production of Dangote Refinery. In fact, a lot of Nigerians saw it as the salvation that the country is looking up to in terms of having some of this fuel crisis brought under control. But it was quite disheartening for me to see that when a lot of people were all very jubilant that at last Dangote Refinery is now up and producing, and NNPC, if you saw that video with so many trucks lined up to load petrol from Dangote Refinery, our own in-country refinery, and then the shocker the next day was that when we were expecting a moderation in the price of petrol, what Nigerians woke up to was an increase. And then to on top of it, we now began to see this back and forth. NNPC said it bought petrol from Dangote Refinery at 898 naira per litre, and that was the first thing they came out with before they came out with the estimated pricing mechanism. And then Dangote, on the other hand, coming out to say he did not sell petrol to NNPC at that price. However, one thing that it's still not very clear on their own part is that while disputing the price at which they sold to Dangote, they never came out to say this is what we sold to Dangote. Okay. And NNPC came up again to give a clarification that actually Dangote sold petrol to them in dollars, and they now tried to do using the current rate of exchange, and the petrol was sold at 55 cents per litre, and the exchange rate was about 1,646 thereabouts. And then when you bring that in, you add other charges like the several of the levies and fees here and there, it came out to that. So I would say that this price war is not even, it's like bringing up something that is so trivial, using it to cover up the bigger issue, which is that Nigerians had to pay more for petrol that is produced in the country.
No, what is not clear is that we talked about market forces and deregulation of the oil sector as well in view of the PIA, which is in existence. However, this issue of NNPC coming out to fix price, Does it tally with what we have in with PIA?
Actually, you would say yes, that it tallies. In that, don't forget that the NNPC is no longer, in quotes, government. It's still 100% owned by government, though it plans to be listed and to bring in private investors into it. So while it is at that, it is operating purely on a commercial basis, which means, being that it is no longer the regulator, so it has its own retail outlets, and it sells petrol based on what it purchased it for. It's clearly a deregulated market. We know that before now, NNPC had to step in, even within this PIA regime, had to step in to stabilize the supply of petrol as a result of the foreign exchange crisis and all that, which meant that most of the independent marketers who have import licenses for petrol could not source the foreign exchange to import. So the ball fell on NNPC to stabilize the supply. So now, with the Dangote Petroleum Refinery beginning to refine petrol, the expectation was that it will leave an open playing field for people to be able to, for marketers, different marketers, to be able to load petrol from Dangote, and then they will be able to sell, and then the market will be able to play. And then for those who, because of the effective end to the subsidy regime, that means that those who still want to import and they have the means to import, they can equally do
exactly.
so.
I was actually going to that, because I missed this high price of petroleum premium motor spirit by NNPC. The independent market has actually come out to say that it's even more favorable for them to import than to buy from.
Yes,
Dangote.
if you look at, you know that like 2 weeks ago thereabouts, specifically on the 3rd of September, NNPC came out with a new pricing regime, which meant that subsidy was removed effectively. And then the price from the loading, from import and all other logistics included, for Abuja, it amounted to 897 naira, while for
the north part, not like 1,000.
It did not. No, it was not up to. It was around 920 or thereabouts. Then for Lagos, it was 850.
Okay, you are talking about before the Dangote.
Yes, that was before the Dangote, and that was based on an imported pricing mechanism. So, with that, Nigerians were like, oh, okay, it means that by the time we begin to buy from Dangote,
it will reduce.
We are expecting a reduction in this pricing. But like I said earlier, to the dismay of everybody, on the 15th of September, NNPC loaded petrol from Dangote Refinery, and the following day there was an increase. And to make Nigerians understand this, they had to come clean and say, this is how much Dangote Petroleum Refinery sold to us. Let's forget the fact that Dangote is not disputing what Dangote Refinery is disputing is the fact that they sold in dollars. They sold petrol in dollars, and NNPC did not come out to say we bought at so dollars or so cents per liter. NNPC ended up converting it. But what we are saying here is that whether they sold in dollar or they sold in naira, Nigerians are not going to buy it in dollars. Nigerians are going to buy it in naira.
Okay. Now, instead, we are going to be going on a break. When we come back, there's still so much to talk about this oil refining impasse between Dangote Refinery and NNPC. What viewers don't go away, you just stay tuned.
Lead Leadership TV for God and country.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining on the program, it's Morning Radio, talking about business and the economy on Leadership Television today. My name is Winifred Weber, your host of the program, and of course we have Leadership's in-house analyst, the group business editor of Leadership, Mr. Anthony Uko. Thank you so much once again. Now, before we went on break, we have been talking about this petrol price war, where we live, and of course Nigerians by now are abreast with the impasse between NNPCL and Dangote Refinery over the pricing of the refined commodity. On this program, just before we went on break, we were looking at the issues surrounding the price hike. Now, instead, you talked about transparency issues. What steps can both Dangote and NNPC take to ensure transparency in their pricing strategies to alleviate public concerns? Meanwhile, as you are speaking, can we just have the graph on the screen for the rates?
Okay, yes. So, like I was saying earlier, if you take a look at this table, you will see that as explained there, a liter of petrol from the Dangote Refinery was for 55 cents, and that's when you convert it using the exchange rate of 1,627.59. That amounted to 898 naira, and then NNPC on its part added some charges by the Nigerian midstream and downstream regulatory authority, which is 4 naira 95 kobo, and another charge there which also amounts to 4 naira 450 thereabout. So with all of those charges put together, NNPC came up with an effective price for Lagos, which is 950 naira per liter. And if you look closely at that map on the other hand, you will see the different prices for the different regions, with Abuja having 992 naira there, and then we have Borno up north having 1,019 naira 22 kobo per liter of petrol at the NNPC retail filling stations. Now, coming to the question you asked about transparency, NNPC has gone out on its own path to provide this, giving Nigerians a clear picture of what it bought petrol for from the Dangote Refinery. And one would have expected that the Dangote Refinery will also come up to say, this is how much we sold, and our pricing, we arrived at the pricing based on this so and so modalities. But we are yet to see that. Instead, they have said they did not sell to NNPC in naira, rather they sold in dollars. But like I said earlier, Nigerians are going to buy it in naira. So at the end of the day, whatever other currency you have used to sell the petrol, it will still have to be converted for Nigerians to be able to pay for it.
That's very, very unfortunate. Now, talking about government involvement, how does government regulation affect the pricing strategies of both entities? And is there a risk of price gouging?
Oh, well, with the Petroleum Industry Act, the hands of government seems rather tied, in the sense that the sector has been deregulated. The Petroleum Industry Act provides the mechanism for pricing to be determined by the forces of demand, market, supply, and that is what is playing out here. Before now, when we had petrol selling for around 6, NNPC was selling at 6.17. there was still some element of, in fact, a good element
Government involvement.
of government involvement in the pricing, and that made it rather difficult for the marketers to be able to import. It was only NNPC that could do the import, because when it brought it in, it will now sell to marketers. One thing I see that this the new scenario that we have here has done is that eventually it will be able to afford other marketers that have import licenses for petrol to be able to also import petrol into the country.
Yes, because I was just going to say that, not in this, because we just talked about market forces, demand, supply, determining the price. However, in this instance, we are having one supplier.
Yes, right. Currently, for a long time, even since the PIA became operational, at the very beginning, we had a few marketers being able to import. But shortly after that, when the forex crisis in the country became heightened, a lot of the marketers were unable to source foreign exchange by themselves. So it fell on NNPC to do the import and then distribute to the marketers. And that's what we have had for the past over a year since the PIA became operational. So now, with the effective pricing in place, I think it opens the room. Do you know that as we speak, the information reaching us is that many of the marketers have not loaded petrol from,
yes, because the
Dangote,
fuel is still there.
Yes, in fact, right now, even many of the NNPC's retail stations actually do not have petrol.
Yes, they don't. Actually.
Yes, and I think maybe because of this, the pricing mechanism, what it has amounted to, they are feeling reluctant to get petrol. Meanwhile, they had not made, because of the expectation that petrol will be lifted from Dangote Refinery. I believe that NNPC may have slowed down on its imports,
because by Sunday they have not lifted.
Yes. So with this now, I'm sure that may be a reason, though we've not heard the official position of NNPC on why we are having,
because the fuel queues are still there.
Yes,
if anything, they are even longer.
Many of the NNPC retail stations being out of stock. And another thing here, we talked about government intervention. Government has also stepped in to say that even though we cannot determine pricing, but we can control how foreign exchange plays into the mix by ensuring that crude is sold to Dangote in naira. And then Dangote Refinery is also expected to reciprocate by selling the product in naira. However, we are yet to see this take effect, because the committee that was saddled with fashioning out with the modalities, the operational modalities for this policy, says the implementation begins on October 1st. And so until then, Dangote Refinery will still have to sell in dollars, pending when the committee comes up with the operational modalities, and then the process can be kick-started by October 1st. So now the expectation is that when this comes into play, will that have the desired impact of reducing the price of petrol that comes out from Dangote Refinery?
That remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen, because right now, if anything, for me, I would say I've learned not to get my hopes up on a lot of issues in this country, because you see how much we were hopeful that the Dangote Refinery was going to make a big difference. But we're yet to see. But we are hoping that as all of this hookups here and there begins to be, hiccups here and there begins to be solved, addressed, eventually we will have a more stabilized environment where prices also begin to stabilize. And don't forget here that government is also working on providing alternative means of energy, the CNG, the compressed natural gas, which is environmentally friendly, and it's far cheaper. But of course, the major issue here now remains the high cost, the initial capital outlay required to convert from petrol to CNG. And somehow, especially for the commercial vehicles, government is coming in a bit to intervene.
Thank you so much. Now we're moving on to the consumers. What are the implications of this price war for Nigerian consumers, especially regarding fuel accessibility and affordability?
Unfortunately, what we have seen so far is that Nigerians are bearing the brunt of this whole situation. We see the price, the fuel queues lengthening in the few stations that are having the product, and we see that even though NNPC filling stations have come out to say fuel is selling for about let's say 992 naira here in Abuja, we see many of the independent filling stations selling for as high as 1,200 inside the filling station. And even at that, is not readily available. And then because as a result of that, we see transportation is high, and it trickles down to food, inflation, even though the NBS came out with
so that it has reduced the figure,
saying, but that reduction is actually for August.
Okay.
So we are yet to
many Nigerians are not buying it.
Yes, we are yet to see what figures they will come up with when the September figures are out. So that is what will indicate. Even as we speak now, the cost of cooking gas has gone up again. So it's having a huge impact on Nigerians. Nigerians are suffering. They are paying. Yes, and of course it's not as it's happening with the consumers. It's also affecting the economy. It's affecting productivity, because a lot of people are not able to open their shops. Many businesses are unable to operate optimally as a result of the energy crisis ongoing right now. So government need to step in and do something, and do it quite on time before the situation escalates further than this.
All right, thank you so much. Now, just before we go, let's look at future projections. With the commencement of petrol distribution from Dangote Refinery, what are the expectations for future petrol prices in Nigeria?
Well, like with this,
don't forget, he said that whatever goes up in Nigeria does not come down.
That really is the fear. That is the fear. The question on the lips of many now is, now that petrol has gotten to this level, will it ever come down? But
and by the way, when is a Boa refinery expected to come on stream?
Well, refinery had said 2025, which is next year. But if we are to go by what we are seeing with Dangote Refinery,
you give it an extra 1 year or two.
Not even about the timing of it coming on stream, but about how like I said, I've learned not to put a lot of hopes on this refineries if we are to go by what has happened in the Dangote Refinery. I think the major thing that Nigerians should be clamoring for here is that the state-owned refineries are up and working. What is happening with Port Harcourt Refinery? That is the question now. What is happening with Kaduna Refinery? The minister and the Petroleum Ministry, they have been telling us that Port Harcourt Refinery is ready, is technically ready. But as we speak, even before Dangote Refinery came up on stream, we had heard that Port Harcourt Refinery was completed. They were test running. How long will the test run
with
last.
the billions of dollars,
with the billions of naira that has been sunk into the turnaround maintenance. What is happening? What is happening with Kaduna Refinery? These are the issues that government have to look into for the benefit of Nigerians and for the economy. Because we have seen, of course, you would not, Dangote Refinery got a lot of loans. It's highly indebted to banks and many other institutions. So he's not running a charity, it's a capital venture, and it wants to get all its recoup its investments and then make profit for the owners of the money. So you don't expect Dangote Refinery to operate as a Father Christmas, so to say. But now Nigeria has an allocation of crude oil for domestic consumption, and this should go into the state-owned refineries, which will be refined, and then the product brought out and sold to Nigerians. And then at that point, the price can be there can be the issue of affordability, and the issue of availability can be taken care of. But what is keeping those refineries from working with so much money that have been sunk into them? That is the major thing that the government should look into in this matter, and ensure that something is done concerning these two refineries, and done drastically. The government have been shifting the goalposts for commencement of operations of Port Harcourt.
And at the time, it was looking for private investors to come and take over the world.
The adverts were out calling for private operators, both for the
Port Harcourt,
Warri, and then lately for the Port Harcourt. So if it is the private sector that will run it, but so long as this refineries belong to government, if the private sector running it means it will be run efficiently, and then it will be able to produce products that will be sold to Nigerians at an affordable price, then so be it. The better for us, don't you think?
Yes.
The better for us.
Yes, that's a good one. So that is our take-home snippet from today's morning radio. Insa, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Well, it's on this note we draw the curtain on today's program, Morning Radio. We'll be looking at petrol price war. When will it end? Of course, Nigerians have not seen the last of it. Until we come your way again, I've had the pleasure of having in company today Leadership's in-house analyst, the group business editor of Leadership, Mr. Anthony Oko. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. And
my name is Winifred Debebo, your host on the program. Don't forget to join us for another fresh edition of the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.